In 1991, we were living in Israel, in the city of Ashkelon, which is not far from Gaza. And we turned on the television. It was at Hamsin, which is a east wind from the desert. Very hot, very dry, and it makes the atmosphere change as well. And we were receiving Egypt TV. It began with the call to prayer from the mosque, and then it segued into a movie. And I ran and grabbed my camera, took a picture of the television screen, and this was a woman peering through the lattice. I came to live in Israel in 1988, and the Intifada had already begun. So I saw our neighbors, the Arabs, only from afar, but we could watch them on our black and white TV. After the first instance, which was inadvertent, I began searching for foreign stations, sometimes finding them between the channels on the dial. And I was especially drawn to belly dancers, which are fairly plentiful in Arabic movies. As a musician myself, I was also interested in the music. The rhythm is fairly easy to assimilate, but as a Westerner, I was at first put off by the scale. And it caused me to wonder if there is an objective measure of beauty in the world, or if it's all culturally conditioned. Whenever that music went through the house, my wife knew that I had found another one. It took about a year before she consented to turn my growing collection of stills from the TV screen into paintings. Before she began, she suggested an innovation that we arrange some of the compositions as film strips, letting each individual shot, perhaps one frame per minute or hour or whatever, represent a segment or a scene, and then juxtapose these shots to make our own representation, like editing. We began to find themes, for example, soliloquy, triangle. In Arabic movies, as well as movies from other traditional societies such as Turkey or India, men and women never kiss, and in a way that added to the sexual tension. In fact, we came to believe that the roots of Romanticism reside in the Middle East, as it was encountered by the Crusaders and gave rise to courtly love, which is very similar to the Arabic love poetry of the Middle Ages. And this apotheosis of romantic love comes down to us in the films of Rudolph Valentino and Hedy Lamarr dancing in chains with an Arabian Nights backdrop, and even the red-headed Rita Hayworth descending like a goddess from heaven. But culture doesn't exist in a vacuum, especially not in modern times, so Hollywood's influence reaches back out to Egypt in this film of the 40s or 50s starring the popular Egyptian Jewish actress Laila Murad. Here we are seeing through 6 layers of separation. First there's the performance, then the film, then it's televised, then photographed, then printed onto rice paper, then painted. Dying of Romanticism was first exhibited at the Jerusalem Theater in the summer of 1996 during the Jerusalem Film Festival. There was an article in a mass-market magazine that linked our own story to the show. The headline read, "What is Love? The photographer came and married the bride," which is how, in reality, I met my wife. I was the photographer at her wedding. We were reading a lot of Jungian psychology at the time about the masculine and feminine archetypes, and realizing how illusion perpetuated by Hollywood had ruined our lives previously. It's a stage you have to go through. Some of our exhibits are not only mixed media, but incorporate other media as well, such as sculpture. Yona has been doing sculpture for many years, and these are some ceramics that she did depicting dancers. And now, live from the Kasbah, Miss Yona Ben-Levy.
يا ليلي يا ليلي يا ليل يا ليلي
On that tune, they do the sand dance, don't you know? If they move too quick, oh well, they're falling down like a domino. All the buzzer men by the Nile, they got the money on a bet. Gold crocodiles, oh well, they snap the teeth on your cigarette. Foreign types with the hookah pipe say, walk like an Egyptian. An Egyptian, walk like an Egyptian. The blonde waitresses take their trays, they spin around and they cross the floor. They got the moves, you drop your drink, then they bring you more. All the school kids so sick of books, they like the punk and the metal band. When the buzzer rings, they're walking like an Egyptian. All the kids in the marketplace say, walk like an Egyptian. Walk like an Egyptian.
It is 19 years since, if you'll pardon the expression, our 15 minutes of fame when our exhibit Dying of Romanticism accompanied the Jerusalem International Film Festival in 1995. First of all, I want to say that the very idea of fame is itself a romantic notion, as opposed to glory. Fame is a heightened perception of the individuality of the bearer. It is not necessarily earned and can come about for any reason, as opposed to the idea of glory, an idea which preceded fame and is a function of an act or deed or the character formed by a succession of acts or deeds. This heightened sense of the individual, which marks the Romantic Revolution, can be magnified by a movie screen and fill an entire screen with a single face or even part of a face. Or it can be magnified through appearing on millions of smaller screens. In 1998, we moved back to America, bringing with us our paintings. We exhibited the series Dying of Romanticism again at an art movie house in Washington State, and then hung the paintings in our basement. We later rented out that house to a young woman who claimed to have artistic aspirations, but turned out to be a heroin dealer. I discovered this when, appearing at her door for a scheduled meeting, I found she had been beaten and shot, and as it turned out, by a couple of customers who were in debt to her but needed some more. When I found her bleeding and called for help, she denied to the police and to the medical team that she had been shot. And later I learned when I got the police report under the Freedom of Information Act, that she was a drug dealer. To make a long story short, she used the time prior to the eviction to organize a total stripping of our house, including the paintings. I even caught them red-handed, but the police refused to get involved, and I conducted the investigation myself and discovered some of our art listed on eBay. When I went down to the property to complete the eviction with the deputy and still found her there, I blocked the driveway and insisted that he check to see if an old car, which was stripped of all identification, was stolen. It was parked there on the property. And in fact, it was stolen. And this scared her enough that she began to return some of the paintings and a few pieces of property to the sheriff's office. At this point, a year later, some of the paintings are still missing, but she has been indicted, and we will see what happens. Since that time, we've also returned to Israel as returning residents and spend most of our year there.